Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats have officially reached full-blown panic mode. First, it was the bombshell polling data that even the mainstream media couldn't ignore, showing Democrats are projected to lose the 2026 midterms. Then came that humiliating CNN town hall meeting featuring Bernie Sanders and AOC, desperately attempting to sway public perception, trying to convince Americans that despite Democrats constantly voting no to reopen the government, somehow it's the Republicans' fault. And now Hakeem Jeffries, the Timu Obama himself, completely loses it after trying to take a cheap shot at White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt. But the move backfired fast. Leavitt fired back, leaving Democrats looking even more desperate and unhinged. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel for more breakdowns like this. But first, let's start with Hakeem Jeffries and his unhinged attack as the Democrats spiral deeper into panic mode.
It's a matter of deep concern. Like, we've already seen a rise in political violence and hatred in America. And then you've got swastikas apparently appearing in the offices of Republican members of Congress. You've got young Republicans engaging in the most anti-Semitic and racist speech possible. Like, this is apparently who many of these people are. They are ripping the sheets off in plain view of the American people. Their words, their actions, revealing themselves in so many different ways. And then you got Karoline Leavitt, who's sick. She's out of control. And I'm not sure whether she's just demented, ignorant, a stone-cold liar, or all of the above. But the notion that an official White House spokesperson would say that the Democratic Party consists of terrorists, violent criminals, and undocumented immigrants, this makes no sense. That this is what the American people are getting from the Trump administration in the middle of a shutdown. So their actions continue to speak for themselves, which is why they're on the wrong side of public sentiment.
Question on the second.
Thanks. Yeah.
So Hakeem Jeffries actually believes that Democrats are actually still on the right side of public sentiment, despite the fact that even the liberal mainstream media are admitting that Democrats are headed for a rude awakening come the 2026 midterms.
This is the generic ballot test. This is when you test people with a generic question. Of course, the House races aren't generic. There are 435 of them. What happens when you go race by race?
What happens when you go race by race? Well, it's the same idea. Okay, House seat ratings with the GOP president, like back in 2005 and, of course, 2017. More net pickup seat chances. Well, last time around, look at that. Democrats were ahead by 33 seats. How about in 2005? Democrats were ahead by 7 seats. What's going on right now? It's actually Republicans. Actually, Republicans with more net pickup chances at plus 12, according to the Cook Political Report, when you add in the likelies, the leans, and the toss-up races. So it's not just on the generic ballot where Democrats are behind their 2017 and 2005 take. It's actually when it comes seat by seat, you see that, at least at this particular point, Republicans actually have more net pickup opportunities. This doesn't look anything like those wave elections back in 2006 or 2000. At this particular point, this election cycle looks a lot more like 2024 than it does than either 2018 or 2006. And so, of course, Republicans actually held onto the House back in 2024. Will it happen this time around? We'll just have to wait and see. But for anyone who's writing the Republican House's political obituaries, hold the phone. This is a reality check. Republicans are still very much in the game.
The truth is, Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats are lashing out because they know exactly what Karoline Leavitt said was true. And Karoline Leavitt absolutely goes off reminding people that Democrats are the ones who opened up the borders and allowed tens of millions of illegal migrants into the country over the past 4 years. And now they're defending them, including the worst of the worst, because they see them as future voters. At this point, it's clear, Democrats like Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer don't serve the interests of the American people. They serve their own political survival. And they're so desperate for approval from the far left wing of their own party that they're willing to hold the government hostage just to keep them happy. But watch this next clip where Karoline Leavitt unleashes on Hakeem Jeffries after his shameless insult on her.
Sure would, Sean, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to do so. Look, Hakeem Jeffries is simply lashing out because he knows that I am telling the truth about the modern-day Democrat Party. What I said, and it is a fact, is that the Democrat Party caters more to pro-Hamas terrorists, illegal aliens, and violent criminals. And let me walk Hakeem through the facts of that statement. When it comes to pro-Hamas terrorists, it was Hakeem's House Democrat caucus that voted against a resolution condemning the October 7th attack on Israel. It was Hakeem Jeffries' Democrat caucus that supported and encouraged the pro-Hamas protests that ravaged college campuses and engaged in illegal harassment of Jewish students across the United States of America under Joe Biden's administration. When it comes to illegal aliens, the American people know the truth about that. The Democrats allowed them to flood our country. Why? Because they view that constituency as their future voters. And when it comes to violent criminals, look at what the Democrats support in terms of crime. Soft on crime policies like cashless bail, like letting violent criminals out back into the streets so they can recommit violent offenses against law-abiding American citizens. The Democrat Party puts Americans last. That's why they overwhelmingly lost the election to President Trump and the Republican Party, and that's why they're holding this country hostage right now from law-abiding, tax-paying American citizens who want the government to be open. So Hakeem Jeffries should stop calling me names. He should stop trying to fight my boss, President Trump, and he should go back to doing what he was elected to do, the business of the American people in Congress, and encourage Senate Democrats to open the government. And I see Hakeem Jeffries saying House Republicans are out. They're not even here. Yeah, because they did their jobs, and they passed a clean continuing resolution at the behest of President Trump to keep the government open. And now Senate Democrats and Chuck Schumer are blocking that to fight Donald Trump. And it's despicable.
Hakeem Jeffries and Democrats are trying to convince Americans that this government shutdown is happening because they're fighting for the people. And that's just one big lie. If they really wanted to fight for the American people, they could do that with the government open. Think back under the last 4 years under the Biden administration. Republicans never shut the government down, not once. They could have, and maybe they should have, but they didn't. They chose to act responsibly, knowing that the shutdown would affect everyday Americans, federal workers, families, and troops. Even while Democrats were allocating billions of dollars to illegal migrants, flooding sanctuary cities, opening the borders, allowing men into women's sports and bathrooms, Republicans still chose to keep the government open and fight the good fight. They didn't have to, but they did. And now, those same Democrats are out here supporting things like No Kings protests. Give me a break. Pretending to stand on principle while holding the entire country hostage. If that's not hypocrisy, I don't know what is. Democrats would rather support a No Kings protest than reopen the government. So that way hardworking Americans like this father don't have to DoorDash just to support their families because their federal paychecks have stopped. Take a listen.
And what's your question for O'Connor?
Hello, my name is Jack Chris, and I'm from Dallas, Texas, and I'm an air traffic controller for the Federal Aviation Administration. Been there 16 years. I've also been through the Obama shutdown and also the Trump shutdown in the previous, and my question is, under the current political climate, do you think that this shutdown could actually be longer than the previous shutdowns due to the external pressures, political pressures that we're having an effect right now? Because I am actually driving DoorDash when I get off work just to kind of make sure I can pay for my daughter's tuition.
I'm trying to be very respectful to everybody because they deserve it.
Why?
Let me say that, no, because you deserve it. But let me say this. I don't think Washington understands how ticked off we truly are. Think about the conversation that we're having right now. You brought up the single-payer system, emulating Canada. You know, we're looking at a president that just gave $20 billion to Argentina. We're hearing about or witnessing what I consider to be a retribution tour. And even though to some degree I don't blame him because of how people went after him, still it appears to be counterproductive. We're listening to this kind of stuff while a young man walked up to the microphone and said that he had to leave here to go and work on DoorDash to help pay for his daughter's tuition. Meanwhile, everybody up here getting paid. But he ain't. This is this kind of stuff right here. That's how you know, and I'm not accusing any of you directly or personally of feeling this way. I'm just talking about the apparatus that is Washington, the nation's capital. This is why you have so many Americans, excuse my language, so pissed off at Washington, because somehow, some way, you get to have these conversations, engage in specific elements of it to talk about what we need to do to get things better. Our debt is $37.8 trillion. Somehow, some way, the taxpayer's been paying this, been throwing money, because we all look at our check, and it's been going to the government. And somehow, some way, you're supposed to be doing something constructive and productive enough to make sure that we don't have that kind of deficit. It isn't happening. A government shutdown is going on right now. A man has to work on DoorDash when he's really an air traffic controller that we applauded. And we're up here talking about how much some money is going to cost, and the only person that don't have a check coming is him. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a break. All right.
Democrats are once again banking on getting their way. It worked under Obama when Republicans couldn't delay or block funding for Obamacare. It worked again in 2018 when President Trump pushed for border wall funding. Democrats refused, and a bill passed without any agreement on funding for the wall. And that decision may have been the moment everything changed. If the wall would have been funded back then, it would have prevented much of what we've seen under the Biden administration, with millions of illegal crossings and open border chaos. And there would be no argument over whether or not to provide health care support to illegal migrants. And now Democrats are trying to run the same playbook again, using the shutdown as leverage to force Republicans into submission. But this time it may not be working so well. The American people are waking up. They're realizing Democrats don't really care about putting citizens first. They care about power, control, and keeping their agenda alive, no matter the cost. But let me know what you think about all of this. If you enjoy the content, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more breakdowns like this. And don't forget, stick around for the next video, where mayhem erupts in the New York City mayoral debate. Make sure you stick around for that one, and I'll see you next time.